Hello there, Eric here, your Learning Futurist. This week I'd like to talk about our eyes. They communicate quite a lot, and there's a trend in virtual reality and immersive learning in general to track what's going on with our eyes. We can see this in Facebook's reality labs and their attempt at reverse pass-through, so people can see someone's eye movement through a head-mounted display, or we can see this in trying to replicate our eye movements and our facial expressions in avatars in virtual worlds. But there's a lot of consequences to this that the research is showing that there might be some additional big meanings behind being able to track your eye movements as far as collecting data. In this video, we're going to show you how collecting just movements on your eyes can actually tell so much about a person, including addiction, ADHD, schizophrenia, anxiety issues, and so much more. So let's explore what it really is going to mean in the future of eye tracking in virtual reality. So yes, we're definitely seeing a trend of virtual and augmented reality developers, whether it be hardware or software, to want to take in more of that biometric data about us. Whether that be like I showed right up front with Facebook Reality Labs doing their reverse pass-through, so for the benefit of people around somebody wearing a headset so they can have that eye contact, or to have us being represented in virtual worlds more accurately and give that humanistic quality to our communications with eye tracking and mouth movements, facial expression movements, and have that being represented in our avatars. But this is really spurred on by a new headset that was announced by Hewlett Packard. It's called the HP Reverb 2 Omnicept Edition. Now that's a mouthful, but this is mostly for enterprise. I don't expect this to be selling like hotcakes, but the main point of this particular headset is that it has a ton of new biometric sensors that are collecting data about the user inside of virtual reality. And well, that means a lot of different things. It's taking your eye tracking movement, where you look and how you look at things, and it's also doing pupillometry. It's also tracking how your pupils dilate when you're looking at certain things at any given time. It also has a heart rate sensor to kind of gauge how you're reacting to what you're being shown or the environment you're in. And it has just below the headset a face tracker to track the movements of your lips, mouth, nose, etc., to have that being possibly either analyzed or represented as an avatar on in your virtual environments. Now, why would you want to do this? There's a bunch of different things. As a learning designer, it's kind of exciting actually to be able to get immediate feedback about how users or learners are reacting to specific environments in real time to see if they're getting a reaction or the information is being processed or they're even paying attention to the right things. You can do a lot of interesting research or iterate on the designs of learning environments if you're tracking this data. Another reason to do this also, especially the eye tracking stuff, they're developing a technology called foveated rendering. And this is just a simple way of saying, just as our eyes work, we tend to have a large amount of resolution in our focus area where we focus and less around other areas. So we're doing the same thing in the design of and development of VR, where we focus our eye. We want to have high resolution and high detail. We don't need to have it everywhere else. And so that's one of the kind of practical purposes for doing this. The heart rate sensor and the face camera, that's all kind of icing on the cake. If you watch some of my older videos, we already know a lot about a person by their head tracking movement, because we have to track the movement, pitch, roll, yaw of your head and your movement if you're using 6 degrees of freedom within your environment. But now this is extra data that's being collected upon you, and it has some possible ramifications. And going through this, I went through some research on this and dug a little bit deeper about what we can actually learn, what we can gaze into your mind about, your mind's eye about, just by using your eye tracking data. And so I pulled up a couple of studies, and I'm going to go through a few of these together and kind of pull out what this might mean for the future of data collection, for privacy, for learning design, and possibly the new iterations that might be coming around the corner for virtual experiences. All right. So all of these are research papers that I found in the last couple of weeks. There's many more that I'm finding all the time, but just with your eye tracking data, we can correlate and diagnose a lot of things about the human condition, the cognitive goings on of a person, of a human being, whether it be anxiety, how stressed we are, how depressed we are. You'll be able to pull out if someone has ability to pay attention or a lack of ability to pay attention on certain things, and if they have an addiction or predilection to certain types of things. It's very interesting stuff. So first, I'd like to show you one that's about anxiety. Now, this particular study looked at the pupil dilation and how someone would look at things, imagery, and they found that people that had anxiety or saw images that invoked anxiety among them tended to avert their eyes, avert their gaze away from imagery that gave them anxiety. And this is something that we don't think of consciously when we're doing it. And so they found a high correlation of things that gave us anxiety, and were able to gauge the kind of general level of anxiety of their users relative to others based on their gaze, and more importantly, how their pupils dilated and how often they averted their eyes to certain types of imagery. This I can tie directly to the future of and development that's happening right now for virtual reality. Game designers, for example, if we go to a patent that was put in by Valve, they're the makers of the Valve Index that was put out a couple of years ago around this same time, actually a little bit later. They are looking to do something called player biofeedback, dynamically controlling a video game state. Now, all that is to say is that they are patenting the ability to take in some of your biometric data as you use virtual reality and have that be reflected to you in the game. Now, as far as being able to know where your eyes are being averted, I can see this being a new type of game. One type of game that's really popular are these horror games that kind of make you jump out of your seat and make you like go through these dark environments and scare you once in a while. This game can know what kind of reaction what kind of things give you the biggest reaction, and then give you more of that or more intense versions of that as you go through the game. So this is already something that game designers and developers are thinking about, and they want to use your eye tracking data to help them give you those experiences. All right, one more study in the list here. Let's look at addiction next. Now, this is a very interesting study that I found around tobacco smoking. And so this study tracked people's eyes and were able to make a direct correlation to how much someone was jonesing for a cigarette, for tobacco, or how much they were in withdrawal, about how often they gazed and averted their eyes, didn't avert their eyes on imagery of cigarettes or tobacco. Now this has some therapeutic type of kind of things that might be involved with it as well, but also going back to the trends of designing things is also a little bit concerning. Mainly the business model of the attention or the engagement algorithms that companies like TikTok and Facebook are based on, right? Every time you click like or scroll up on a TikTok video, you're giving a signal to these companies to tell them what you want to see, what you like to see. And this eye tracking movement and being able to not avert your eyes or avert your eyes if you are liking something is going to be a big draw for this engagement algorithm and take the ability to keep you engaged to a whole new unprecedented level. Imagine if Facebook could track your eyes and how often you looked at specific things in Facebook and then be able to reflect that back at you to keep you in their on their website or in their app to then actually show you more ads. This happens a lot in digital marketing as well. There's something called A/B testing that happens quite a lot. This practice of putting out thousands of ads that have subtle differences in them and seeing which one does better. There could be something about the image that they changed or the font or some sound that they added, and they find that one ad that does just a little bit better than all the rest, and then they concentrate their marketing dollars on that particular one that does best, maybe for different demographics or whatever. So we can see this as well being an economic engine for this behavior moving towards the future, being able to use your eye tracking data to then use as an engine to then reflect to you what you want to see in the form of targeted ads. And that is a very dystopian type outcome, in my opinion, if we allow that to kind of continue in that kind of trend, in that fashion. Last one here on the list that I want to share with you is ADHD and autism. Now, there is a lot of good stuff happening with this as far as treatment as well. PTSD as well, when you go back to anxiety. Being on the autism spectrum and having trouble concentrating or paying attention to things for a certain amount of time or being able easily distracted by other things, there's a lot of educators and researchers using virtual reality to try to help learners and students, particularly on the autism spectrum, being able to concentrate on a particular thing for any given amount of time. There's a lot of good stuff happening around virtual reality that can help students and learners with these issues. But this particular study found that they could easily diagnose or find someone out of a group of people just using their eye tracking movement if they had were on the autism spectrum or they had issues with attention deficit disorder. So using your eye tracking data, it's easily to pull out a lot of these kind of mental conditions, these learning conditions, with just a short amount of eye tracking movement. Now, let's put this all into perspective now. I've been talking a little bit about the engagement algorithm and what making this video in the news. TikTok, their owner ByteDance, acquired a company called Pico VR, and so they're going to be getting in the game of selling virtual reality hardware, much like Facebook did when they acquired Oculus in 2018. And so make no mistake about it, Facebook and TikTok are data companies. They're data brokers. Their data collection is their business model. They put Facebook in front of you for free. You use it. You give them data. They then use that data in their revenue streams for in various ways. And so this is a trend that's easily seen where these companies are seeing the value of having direct access to the people that engage with their systems. Facebook requiring a Facebook login and therefore gathering that data about the users in a whole new way, and maybe not having that middleman like an Apple or a Google between them and their not their clients, not their customers, but their product of data and the data that their users generate. So this is a trend that we can see that people that are in the data business are finding and seeing a lot of value in virtual reality and things like eye tracking moving towards the future in their revenue streams. So what do you think about this? There's some good things about being able to track your movements and have extra biometric tracking in your virtual reality. You can definitely have a more immersive experience, but there are also some bigger ramifications, even bigger than before, unprecedented things that could be a potential risk, potential danger when we're starting to collect all these things about us. Let me know in the comments. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye bye.